Hi guys, I'm Rata Joey.
And I'm Maxon.
And welcome back to FutureSight. Today we're going to be covering a deck that, in the near future, should be causing quite a splash in the format. I'm of course talking about Keldeo-Blastoise. With that said, we'll quickly skim over the cards. I should actually mention that it's going to be Keldeo X and not the promo Keldeo as well. Keldeo X is a basic water type Pokemon with 170 hit points. The ability Step In, which allows you once per turn, if Keldeo's on your bench, you can switch it into your active position. One attack, Secret Sword, which for 3 colourless allows you to do 50 damage plus 20 more damage for each water energy attached to Keldeo, and it has a 2x weakness to grass and a retreat cost of 2. Of course, paired with Keldeo, we're going to be having the Blastoise from the same set, which is Freeze, Bolt and Cold Flare. As to be expected, the Blastoise in this set is a Stage 2 water type Pokemon with 140 hit points. The ability Burst Stream, which to anyone who's been playing the last few formats will recognise it as being a new variant on Inferno Fandango or Rain Dance, which states as often as you like during your turn, you may attach one water energy card to one of your Pokemon. That it doesn't use up your one energy attachment for the turn. He also has one attack, which is for 4 colourless Hydro Pump, which does 60 damage plus 10 for each water energy attached to Blastoise. He also has a weakness to grass, just like Keldeo, and a retreat cost of 4. Now, with those two cards covered, I'm pretty sure everyone can already see what strategy we're going to be throwing out there with this. Your key situation for this is going to be having at least one Blastoise on your bench and a Keldeo active. Use Blastoise to load up energy onto Keldeo and hit for ever increasing numbers. If you only fill Keldeo's triple colourless cost with water energy, you should be hitting for a nice sizable 110 damage to the active Pokemon, but you don't have to limit it to the 3 energy. If you want to go for 130, say there's a troublesome stage 2 in your way, 1 extra energy and it's taken out in one shot. Max, anything you'd like to say at this point?
It sounds kind of similar to Gothitelle in a way, where you kind of keep loading Gothitelle up with energy and kind of swing into a game.
I do see what you're saying there. I mean, the numbers are quite similar. Instead of it being 30 plus 30, that was 50 plus 20, but for the 3 energy costs, they both hit 110.
The only difference I see between is the fact that with Keldeo, or rather with Gothitelle, I should say, you were able to maintain a strong field through not losing any resources, where with Keldeo, you are really putting a lot of resources onto one Pokemon and then kind of hoping it doesn't go anywhere. There's not a lot of grass weaknesses, or grass decks I should say, in the format at the moment, but I feel that having both Keldeo and Blastoise have the same kind of as a major drawback to the deck.
True, them both having the same weakness, if the deck does see any kind of popularity, would just cause anyone to jump out and say, well, we need to start making grass decks. We both ourselves have actually covered the Vileplume from the same set, and with the 4x weakness it was able to one-shot anything in this deck on its own.
The other thing is that what we currently have in problem is the Garchomp and the Darkrai Hydreigon.
True, with the Darkrai Hydreigon you are going to be in a very difficult position. Unless you're willing to invest enough energy to hit for the one-shots on Darkrai, which, if I've got this right, it's 3 is 60, another 3 will make 170. So you'd need 7 energies attached to Keldeo to one-shot a Darkrai. To be honest, that's probably more than half the energy in your deck, and that being said, it's a huge investment. It's not a bit of an investment, it's a huge one.
I suppose saying that, it would have to depend upon the build. I assume if you could get that down like turn 2, I assume you probably win the entire game.
You can, if you do get yourself going like turn 1 or 2, you can very easily put yourself in a position to apply very heavy early game pressure and probably win from there. Because if you can lock down your opponent's setup, then you're pretty much sorted.
The other thing that's probably comes out is the fact that the deck has suitable room for techs, since Blastoise ability, very much like Ember, can attach to any Pokemon.
Very true, very true.
Though, to be honest, in the Ember decks, we didn't actually see many techs. It just tended to be a pure concentrated Reshiram and Ember.
True. Although back in the Ember format, everything was moving very quickly towards basics. And I think the only reason we didn't see Reshiram Ember was just the fact that we had Typhlosion Reshiram, and it was a much more consistent build. Even though in the mirror match, Reshiram Ember tended to win because it didn't damage itself to get its energy out, Tyram had a better across-the-board matchup.
Yeah, but again, I feel like if it's going to tech stuff, I think the one good tech that every other deck seems to use is Sigilyph.
True, you would need to add in something like a Prism Energy or possibly the blend that goes with it. Mostly I'd suggest the Prism Energy, just the fact that it can touch Keldeo and the Sigilyph. And the blend doesn't really help like the deck at all.
But I feel, with Sigilyph, being able to charge up Sigilyph in a single turn seems to be a very strong move to be able to make in the deck, especially for countering like Mewtwo's and such.
True. I mean, as you said, you can charge it up turn 1. There is another thing I really do want to throw out there about this deck, and I do think it's one of its best strengths. It's actually probably what completely differentiates this deck from the old Reshiram Ember matchup. I mean, people did run Reshiram even though Tyram was around at the beginning of this format, mostly because they actually saw that Reshiram beat Tyram, except for one like major problem, and that was Ember's retreat cost.
Yeah, that's true.
I mean, it seems that Blastoise has the same problems, like, oh well, I've got the same retreat cost of 4. Keldeo X himself actually covers that.
Yeah,
as I mentioned, Step In allows it to take itself from the bench and hop out to the active position. You effectively make yourself catcher-proof. The only way that
shot the Blastoise when they catch it.
True. If they do one-shot the Blastoise, if you're set for a second one, which in a deck like this I would always try to be ready to get a second one out or have the second one out already. If they do knock it out, you can bring out what you need to have out. If you want to go for the Sigilyph, you've got a Sigilyph. If you want to go for the Keldeo again, there's Keldeo.
I suppose it's quite easy to set up another one since the Squirtle's ability.
Squirtle's ability, if you give it a second.
It's when it's on the bench, it cannot be hurt by damage.
Yeah, at first when you said ability, I was thinking attack, but no, that is a nice ability to have. Also,
it basically means that stuff like Darkrai can't touch it.
True. Also, aren't there actually electric type Pokemon out there that's actually can hit your opponent hard but recoil onto your own bench?
Yes.
I mean,
things like Luxray
and the Manectric that's just been released.
Yes.
They both turn around and say, well, decent cost for this attack, it's a decent damaging attack, you have to damage your own guy. So that might be plausible tech for this deck as well. It depends if electric is going to have any impact on the format. I mean, it's going to be at least another 3-4 months before we get this set, so the format could shift quite a bit. We don't know for sure. I mean, especially seeing as we're about to go into Worlds, all we need is just like one amazing rogue at Worlds that happens to beat everything but is weak to electric, and all of a sudden Manectric is a decent idea.
Well, yeah, I guess it depends.
It does depend on Worlds, I will be honest. I'm not saying Manectric will be good, I'm not saying it's going to be God Card. I'm just saying it's not completely implausible for it to actually do something. But back to the deck at hand. So we've covered the fact that the deck itself is pretty much catcher proof. What else is there to actually cover? Oh, recruiting, I'm guessing. Most of the deck is going to be recruitable through, I think, Level Ball for it?
Except
Squirtle and Wartortle. Yeah, Squirtle and Wartortle are grabbable with Level Ball. Blastoise is grabbable with Heavy Ball, but for Keldeo you're going to need something a bit more substantial like an Ultra Ball. There's also probably a chance for Pokemon Communications as well. I would suggest with a deck like this probably running like at least a 3-1 or a 3-2 3-line Blastoise. So you most likely will have spare pieces to that line, as well as keeping it substantial. And with that in mind, you could then use Pokemon Communication to grab stuff like Keldos. It also means that if you have Candy, Wartortle, and Communication in hand, you pretty much have the Blastoise. Well, assuming you've got Squirtle on bench.
Yeah. The only problem I see with this deck is the fact that you do have to use a lot of energy on one Pokemon, and you will have to keep searching your deck for more energy.
True to that. There are a couple of ways of making it manageable, I guess. We do have Silan, which gives us the 3 energy if you want to go that route. There are a few cards in format that can get the energy back into your deck at least.
I'm just mainly because I'm kind of comparing it to Darkrai, I guess. Mainly because, as I say, Darkrai has the whole, it keeps its energy on the board.
It can keep its energy on the board as long as it needs to. And if it loses any, it can Dark Patch it back. I mean, to be honest, yeah, it is a big investment, but I think it's a big investment for a very good reward. The deck should be able to pay out. I can't see why the deck wouldn't be able to at least hold its own in pretty much any format.
No, definitely.
I mean, you don't really need to run Switch because you've got Step In. You're capture-proof for the same reason. But the thing is, so many people are going to be running Switch in the upcoming format unless they're running Darkrai.
Yeah.
Just for the whole fact that everyone's going to be running so many capture. 4 capture is pretty much going to become staple. And with the 4 capture becoming staple, not needing to run the Switch means you're going to have space in your deck that other decks wouldn't have. Even if it is only 2 or 3 cards. So that could be pretty much anything in there. It could be Skylers for grabbing out needed trainers. It could be, you know, extra energy for grabbing it out. It could be just extra space to reinforce your Blastoise line if you wanted it to be.
That's very true. I suppose Skyler would be a very good card in the deck, as say, being able to search out that Candy.
Well, you could search out Candy, Ultra Balls if you need them, Communications if it's more beneficial in the situation you're in. I'm guessing we would have to run Energy Retrieval for the deck as well.
I suppose I should probably quickly cover that the deck could very easily use Kyurem X, and Mewtwo X.
I do see where you're coming from with the Mewtwo mostly attacks for his double colorless, and you could probably get a very big, surprise attack out of him. Without much worry. Also, I do like where you're coming from with both the Kyurems being more usable. I mean, Kyurem X does give you the option to discard special energies on the board, so that's going to be double colorlesses, blends, they just get sent to a discard pile. And the regular Kyurem, it does give you a lot of options for just like spreading damage out there, softening the board up. I mean, if you're against something like Darkrai Hydreigon and you start spreading damage, all of a sudden their game changes quite a bit.
Yes, definitely.
Because it's been made, the comparison's been made like when the Darkrai Hydreigon deck was first revealed, that it runs a lot like Gothitelle. Move something to one side, heal, and then you've got what you need. But with Gothitelle, you were moving the damage, not the energy. So you could like heal, because you were manipulating damage, you could heal as much damage as possible. With Darkrai Hydreigon though, you're moving the energy. So if damage is getting spread, you can't manipulate the placement. So you're sooner or later going to lose something unless you keep on going for max potions to just keep on restoring your bench. But if you're going to just grab a couple of max potions each turn with a Sableye and just heal 2 guys, it doesn't stop your opponent from just keep on spreading.
The other thing is, if they did that, the Pokemon, let's just say it's Hydreigon. Darkrai has 170 and Hydreigon has 150. If you spread 30 to everyone on the bench, and you heal 2 guys, there's nothing really stopping them from sending out Keldeo and then capturing one of the guys who's still got damage on.
So Hydreigon's taken for 1 extra energy. You probably had to invest for
7, I believe.
It was 7. Bear with me a second. It would be 130 for 4 and 150 for 5. If you're hitting it for 30, then yeah, you can take it out for 5 energy. You can take them both out. Well, Hydreigon for 4 energy and 5 energy to take out Darkrai.
I was also kind of including Kyurem's own energy cost as well.
True, that would be a case of it would be 8 energies out of deck.
I suppose the other thing you can talk about is this same kind of thing. It would have a very interesting Evil's matchup.
It could be a quite interesting Evil's matchup. I mean, I think Eels might fall into the format before then. I'm not 100% sure. It may become the few and far between deck.
I feel Eels has become what Typhlosion was last format. It's that deck that we'll keep seeing, regardless how well it does.
Yeah, people will keep on pushing for it.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can completely understand that. Well, actually, for the when you mentioned Kyrome's energy cost, I have just realised something that might be of big interest. We could actually just use Super Scoop Up and place a switch. Obviously, because it's a potential healer. If a Garbodor comes into play, you can still actually get stuff out the active spot. Plus, it'll be putting the energy back into your hand to play that down. And unlike most other like Super Scoop Up strategies, where it's pick something up and start reloading, you can you can reload that energy straight away.
I suppose there is one weakness that is also something we talked about earlier. Is the Sigilyph kind of also stops your main attacker as well. So you would have to tech something like your own Sigilyph or the normal Kyurem, or just an attacker that can get around Sigilyph.
Something non-X.
Yeah.
Well, you could always go for Blastoise to attack if you really put yourself in a tough situation. It's pretty much the same attack as Keldeo, except it's 1 energy extra and the numbers are slightly different. If you load it with 4 water energy for the just the attack cost, you will be swinging for 100. So that's Sigilyph taken care of.
That's true, but
it's not preferred.
My main engine kind of sitting on the front when it should be sitting on the back.
True. The major point I'm making is so that your main engine in this deck can do something. You don't want it to have to, but it can.
I suppose the other thing that we need to be discussing is the fact we still have energy retrieval in format.
With energy retrieval in format, we don't actually have to worry too much about things getting knocked out. Just for the fact that we can pick up the energy again, play it back down straight away.
That was how this deck kind of differentiates from Reshiram. With Reshiram, you constantly had to have enough energy to keep putting down or to keep drawing into retrievals or fish. With Keldeo-Blastoise, that's not really the case.
Yeah, with Keldeo-Blastoise, the energy stays there until you either get knocked out or you decide to drop the energy, so maybe retreat or something. I mean, with Keldeo's retreat only being 2, it's not too bad to have to actually pay that retreat cost if you can get the energy back and play it straight back onto the field. It's more of an investment of the energy than an actual cost instead. I just realised how much I'm using that word today. I'll be honest though, I think we might have kind of run this topic dry for the moment.
Yeah, we pardon the pun.
But I'm tish. It's all about the puns in this episode. Anyway, with that said, until next time, I've been Writer Joey.
I'm still Maxon.
If you like what you've seen, don't forget to rate, comment and subscribe. And also remember, we're willing to take viewer requests at any time. Till next time, stay in the top %.